Hello everybody and welcome to Wesley's Plant World with me, Wesley Peterson, and today I have a video all about this beautiful plant I have in front of me here. This is my Epipremnum pinnatum, and even though it looks like here I have 4 different plants propagating, they're all one plant. And a while ago I did a care tips video all about this plant, so you can go back and see that video to understand a lot about how you care for this plant. And then after that video I did a video where I showed how I pruned and propagated my mother plant and put it into these vases you see in front of me here, all of these different small pieces, and they started their propagation in passive hydroponics with a nutrient mix that I have gone and changed out a few times, and this has been over a period of around 1 month. And I can tell you right now, these cuttings, all of them, have produced the most amazing, big, long, healthy roots. Every single part of my plant that I took apart, from long straggly pieces of vine like I have in this vase, smaller pieces that I took off, the mature vines, and the more mature immature vines, they've all done so well. So basically from my mother plant I've produced, I don't know, tens and tens of plants. And in this video I am going to show you how I pot some of them up in 2 different styles. So the first ones I'm going to start with are the more immature vines. I want to put all of these in a pot and have them as a cascading plant. I want to keep these immature leaves because I actually really like them in that style. So they'll be cascading in their pot in semi-hydroponics, and my mature vines I will be putting in a separate pot, and I've made myself a Leca ball stake, and they are also going to be in semi-hydroponics so that they can carry on growing up with bigger mature leaves on a 1.80 meter stake, and I hope look fantastic like that. So I'm just going to get on with this. You can go back and see the video where I pruned my mother plant and put it into these vases like this, so you can see what happened in the first phase of getting these plants to grow out roots in passive hydroponics. Now we're moving on to the next phase, the semi-hydroponics, which is going to be Leca balls around the roots of the plant. This is also called hydroculture because then the Leca balls will be supporting the plant's roots as a kind of medium, and then their cachet pot will be filled up 1/3 of the way up with a nutrient mix to keep them happy and supported, getting the nutrients they need, and for the Leca balls to also be able to wick up the nutrient mix to the top of the pot around the whole root system. So the first thing I want to do is show you all of these roots closer up because they are amazing. Have a look at these. So we're going to start with my immature leaves here. So look at these leaves, they're looking absolutely fabulous. And now have a look at these gorgeous roots at the bottom. So look at these roots. Look how amazing they've grown out on these vines. Lots of long roots everywhere. Look at that. It's just amazing the amount of roots. 1 month's growth, and this plant is so ready to carry on a life in semi-hydroponics with no problem. Every single little stem was a success. So now let's have a look at the long straggly vines that didn't have any leaves on them, hardly, to see how they're doing. Not only have they produced a lot of lovely roots, they've also grown a lot of beautiful leaves at the same time. So look at all of the roots going on in this vase. They're just amazing and perfect for semi-hydroponics. Now look how long that root is. Right from over 2/3 of this vase, which is quite tall. And all of the vines have produced lovely roots. Look how white they are, look how gorgeous they are. And then at the same time, you can see there are lots of new leaves, lots of new ends on the vines, lots of new leaves coming out, a new leaf here, new leaves here. All this is new. All of these are new leaves. all of this has grown out new. All of these are new. Basically, most of all these leaves are new. So this plant has loved being in passive hydroponics, in a nutrient mix, in my grow tent with lots of warmth and light, and produced these amazing roots and leaves. I am so surprised and pleased with this. That's pot number 2. So now we need to have a look at these more mature leaves and their roots. So look at these gorgeous leaves. This was a surprise for me. These have grown out the thickest, most gorgeous roots, you won't believe it. But have a look how healthy the leaves are still. Since before I started propagating them, they look exactly the same 1 month later. Absolutely fantastic. So look there at the transformation of this plant and its leaves when it matures. Wow, wow, wow is all I can say. They're so amazing. But wait until you see how huge these roots are. Look at that. All the way down to the bottom and starting to curl. Thick, beautiful white roots all the way around, top to bottom. Look at those. Just look at those. They're amazing. Look at that. In just 1 month, this plant has produced all these gorgeous, gorgeous, huge roots that are water roots already, so absolutely perfect for semi-hydroponics. And there'll be no organic material or soil hanging around in them when I pop them up. So perfect. And now to have a quick look at the final bundle of these vines that I took off here. So look here. This is just a maze of roots. They are spectacular. Beautiful and white, fresh, clean, and all of these vines have been doing fantastically. Look at their leaves on top. Healthy, happy. After 1 month in passive hydroponics, they are looking just absolutely fantastically amazing. I'm so pleased about this, and I'm so pleased that I dared to go in and just hack up my whole mother plant to try out something new and get myself a lot more plants. Because who wouldn't be pleased to see roots like this in a passive hydroponics setup? Amazing. So now all that remains for me to do is start potting up, and I'm going to start with these first because I need to put this one on a taller stake, so I'm going to have to move my table out the way later to do that. So let's quickly get these first vines here potted up. So to do this, of course, I need my Leca balls, lots and lots of Leca balls. These have been thoroughly washed and they've actually been soaking in the nutrient mix that I use for a couple of weeks because I just haven't used them. So they are soaked and ready for my roots to be able to go in around without drying out too quickly or anything like that. Now I need to get myself my plastic pot and my cachet pot. And I have them just down here. So we'll just move around these plants a little bit here. Put the small ones at the front, of course. And then my mature ones and my vines there. So move those to the back. So now I have my cachet pot here, and in the cachet pot, of course, you're going to need to have a plastic pot. And I went out and bought myself an orchid pot like this. This has no holes in it. And what I did is I got my soldering iron and I put holes along the edge. In this pot at this height, I've put 4 holes along the edge. You could put 4 to 6 or whatever you want to. And you can see the difference there. There you go, before and after. So very quick and easy. You do this yourself. It's very important to make sure that your roots have airflow, oxygen going around them in the Leca balls, because they're going to have the nutrient mix 1/3 of the way up in the pot to halfway up in the pot all the time. So those roots will be submerged. So you're going to have to make sure that there's extra air holes for oxygen to be able to get in around all of the roots above the nutrient mix and the roots below, and that will create a much more healthier environment for your plant. Another thing that's really important to remember is if you're going to be having your plant in a see-through pot like this, don't just put this pot on the windowsill or anywhere where you've got bright direct light coming in, because that will cause algae to grow on the pot and all of your roots. Everything will turn green. Then your plant is going to be competing for oxygen with the algae, and everything will get slimy and mushy, and you're going to have to clean it all out. So in a see-through pot like this, you're going to have a cachet pot, and you put your pot inside to help keep the light away from the roots and stop algae from growing. If you have a normal plastic pot that's brown or black or grey or whatever, then you're not going to have to worry about the light getting through. Then you can do it however you want. But otherwise, make sure you do cover it with a cachet pot. So, right, easy does it. These roots are quite long, so they're going to be able to get down to the bottom of this pot quite easily if I allow them. But I want them to be a little bit of a way up, so that I know some of the roots will be out of the nutrient mix and some will be able to carry on growing down to the bottom of the pot into the nutrient mix. So I'm going to start by filling up this to around just under a third of the way with my Leca balls. So there we go. I'm happy. I've actually filled it up more than that. I think I've filled it up near enough halfway, but that's fine. Now I can start placing my plants onto the Leca balls and then just filling in around them. It's that easy. For this though, I'm going to have to sit down. I can't do this standing up. Right, let's have a look. What am I going to be using? So I'm not using mature ones for now. Because these vines here are quite straggly and have less leaves, I want to get those kind of in the middle and then get these with the lovely big leaves planted around the edge of this pot. So we'll start by doing that. And you're going to see that because these are quite long and they've got roots up and down, high up, I'm going to have to lay them in different ways, maybe. So now I've got all of these longer vines in here. That's been a bit difficult. I've had to kind of spread them out and lay them down. And now I'm going to get some of these bigger leaved vines and just place them in where I can. I need more space here for now. And I need to get my plants, and we need to see who's going to be easy. Well, I might just be able to get these actually like this and place them in. Try and take out some of the organic material that's loose that you don't want carrying on in there out at the same time. These roots are just looking amazing. So now I'm just going to get these to fall over to the sides and pull them down as I can, as much as possible, and lay them out, because they will figure this out themselves later anyway. As long as we've got the roots down in the Leca and they have a chance to carry on getting moisture, then they're going to be fine. And they're looking amazing, I must say, straight away, all of this. Now of course I do want some to be standing up in the middle to give the plant height in the middle as well, of course. So we'll spread some more of these around here. They're a bit shorter. And then the ones that are longer, look at these gorgeous plants. We're going to stand up in the middle. Yes, lay some down, stand some up like that. So we get a really good looking solid plant that's going to be cascading all the way around, all the way down in this pot, with all of these amazing roots that have grown out. So now I'm just going to start filling up with my Leca balls, and I will show you the result when I'm finished with that. This can be a bit fiddly. You need to put in a few at a time and press them all down and around and in between all of your root maze going on in here. So make sure everything gets support. So there we go. That's my first pot potted up, and it took some time trying to get all of these Leca balls down and around these roots. There are some areas where there's gaps, but most of it is full up, so it doesn't matter. This plant is going to figure everything else out itself. It has so many roots now that it will be able to readjust itself. And I just want to bring it in closer so you can see all the roots before I put it in its cachet pot with its nutrient mix. But this is what I was going for, a cascading look. This is lovely. So here we go, closer up. There's the roots that are already in my pot. All the way around like this, all the way down there, in and around, and in a couple of weeks I will see lots of roots around the edges where they've readjusted themselves up and around and down into the nutrient mix that will be coming. But this is a beautiful bundle of an Epipremnum pinnatum with immature leaves that is going to be my cascading plant. So now all I need is my cachet pot, my plant in my pot, and there I have it. So now I just want to put the nutrient mix in this plant straight away because these roots are used to moisture and I don't want them drying out before I start my next potting. I have my nutrient mix ready to go here. I do it in a batch of 10 litres so that I have plenty for jobs like this, so I can just fill up my plant with nutrient mix. I can see down the side of the pot how far I'm going, and there we have it. Now my plant is in half nutrient mix and half not, which means it's in 100% semi-hydroponics. Look at that from my mother plant. I'm so happy about this. I love it. I just love it. And there are so many new small leaves growing out everywhere. So this is going to bush out in no time. So now it's time for me to get on with my mature leaves that I'm going to be putting straight onto my Leca ball stake. So here it is. My Leca ball stake is 1.80 meters tall. And there's a closer look at it all the way up and down. It's a plastic material that you use for gutters to stop leaves falling into your gutters. I have sealed this with zip ties and I've put this plastic rod that I think has metal in it, I'm not sure, but a plastic rod at the back to hold it sturdy. So when it stands up, when it's on the floor, it looks like this. And it's all very good. I've filled it up with Leca balls that have been washed, and this is going to be perfect for my plant to grow up now. And I did a whole video on how I make my Leca ball stakes, so you can go back and see that video to see the whole process of this. So for me to be able to plant this plant up without it moving around, I'm going to have to tie it to my stake. So basically I need to move my plastic pot out of the way. I've got myself some green twine and my scissors, and now I just need to get my plants and lay them at the bottom so that the bottom of their stems is on the bottom of my stake, so that we get the roots down into the Leca balls and my plants just above. So let's just get them untangled from each other so I can see what's going on. So I had 3, and if you go back and see that video where I pruned back my mother plant, you'll see I had these 3. Look at the roots on this plant. Isn't that just gorgeous? There's actually different plants there because of that. This one has roots coming out in 2 spots, and this one has roots coming out in 2 spots as well. But I want to keep this like this. I'm going to try and put those roots that are growing high up a little bit into my leckable stake so that it's already starting to grow roots into it. So there we go. That's the first one. It's right at the bottom, and some of the roots are inside my stake. Have I got room to move my stake here? Yes. So I've got a root in, but I want to get the other root in as well. Just tucked in so that they have a chance to continue doing that. That was absolutely perfect. And of course, they're probably going to dry out, but there'll be, no, actually they won't here because this part of my stake is actually going to be in the nutrient mix. So they're going to carry on growing into the stake like that. So now I've got myself some twine here. I'm just going to do this plant first because I don't think I'm going to be able to sustain it in position. No. So we'll do this one first, and then in the end I'll just put one piece of twine. I'll cut the other pieces off, but I want to do one at a time to make sure I position them perfectly how I want them to be, and to be able to keep these roots in place as they're growing into my stake here. So get that root back in to a hole. Now I want to put it there. So I've got one root up there going in and another one there going in. So now we need to tie this up really quickly. I don't want to get the petals of the leaves in it. I just want the stem, so I can make sure it's as snug as possible on this stake. So that is in place now with its roots in my leckable stake. This is just fantastic as a beginning. So I have this lovely one that feels like it needs to be tucked in on this side, and maybe get some of the leaves around each other just to support each other a little bit and make it look like it's growing as one beautiful plant. And now I need to put another piece here. So here you can see my plants are tied to the bottom of the stake now. You're probably wondering why I'm using twine when this is going to be going down in my leca balls. Well, it's the only thing I have available right now, and I will be taking this up at some point and I will be able to remove those. They will last like that for quite a while before they rot away or anything like that. And these plants will have got roots into everything by then, so I will be able to take them off. It's just for the beginning to hold them in place like this. So now let's get them into the pot. So now I have a slightly different setup here because my pole is too tall to be up on a table, but I'm going to be putting it straight into the bottom of my plastic pot here with my cuttings on top and filling up around them. Oh, watching that I don't get everything else around me caught up. So I've put them right to the bottom of my pot. My stake is at the back of my pot, and I'm just going to fill up because I need as much of my stake in the pot as possible, being that it's so tall, to keep it supported by the leca balls all around. And seeing as these plants have been growing in water, they are going to be fine with their roots right down at the bottom in the nutrient mix straight away. So let's just get filled up now and see how this goes. So that is my second plant potted up, and well, the stake is very, very solid in the pot. You can see here, I don't have to hold the stake. It's perfect. And I have my 3 lovely mature vines in my pot with the leca. So now I'm going to put it into its cachet pot straight away and fill it up with nutrient mix. And then my new semi-hydroponic Epipremnum pinnatum is all finished. I have really enjoyed this transformation because I have 2 plants with completely different styles, and then I have a little bundle left. So I'll put some nutrient mix in the bottom, but what I want to show you is these stakes are very, very easy to water. So when you fill up and you want to keep the moisture in your leca balls, you can water right from the top. So I just want to put a little bit in the bottom just to make sure everything is nice and moist around the top of the balls here. And then we'll take the camera up to the top and you can see me filling up and moistening these leca balls with my nutrient mix. And that's what I'll do every time to keep this plant happy, satisfied, and when it's growing up, hopefully it will be able to grow some aerial roots into these leca balls just to help support the plant up as it grows, and I hope it's going to grow out a lot more bigger, mature leaves now. So let's fill up the leca ball stake with nutrient mix. So to do this, I'm going to have to stand on my red chair here because this is so tall, but let's see how it goes with filling up with nutrient mix from the top. Yes, it's running down perfectly, not all over the place, just straight down into the pole. You can see if I lift the water slightly up, you can see it dripping down in. As long as I'm watching what I'm doing, it doesn't go outside of the pot or the leca ball stake. So this is a fantastic way of being able to moisten the aerial roots all the way up my plant when it grows up taller. So let's just have a quick look. Oh, I love the crackling sound. Can you hear that? That's just so much fun. So I just need to check that I'm not overdoing it here. Just check the bottom a minute. No, I have plenty more space. So we can carry on with a little bit more moistening here. Just listen to that crackle. Absolutely perfect. And that's why a leca ball stake does work as well. Of course, most people use sphagnum moss because sphagnum moss holds the moisture for a very long time in the stake. And I don't do that because I'm allergic to mold. So I don't want any mold spores or anything like that getting into sphagnum moss or something in my home if I should have too many stakes, because I will be making a lot of these. If I had too many moss poles, it would be very bad for my health. So I'm doing it this way, and even though they're not going to stay moist nowhere near as long, you can still do this each time when you go and flush your plant through, want to spray the whole thing over, fill up your nutrient mix at the bottom. Why not do it from the top of your pole to make sure you moisten it through every time you do something with the plant? So this is perfect, and I have room for more nutrient mix. So we'll carry on. This is so much fun. Ah, I'm enjoying this. That sound. It's like a little waterfall. So therapeutic. Ah, this is what it's all about with plants. It's supposed to be therapy. Now I've decided to give these cuttings a deep nutrient mix because they really enjoyed being in their nutrient mix and they're used to being in that. So while they're still growing out more roots into the leca balls, I'm going to give them slightly more than half the cachet pot full of nutrient mix to keep them happy and thriving. So that is me all done, and this was to show that you can transform one plant into many different styles. You can see my lovely bushy cascading style of my Epipremnum pinnatum in my cachet pot up there, doing well in semi-hydroponics, and you can see my mature leaves that will be growing up this leca ball stake 1.80 meter tall in a cachet pot in the leca balls and also in semi-hydroponics. And both these styles, well, I can't wait to see them bush out, grow up and transform even more. And you can also do this with soil. This is not something that is just for semi-hydroponics. This is just to show that there are many different ways and methods of doing things with your plants. This works perfectly well in an aroid soil as well. So go and have yourself some fun with your Epipremnum pinnatum or any other kind of vining plants you have, and make yourself some new creations like this, because having plants is fun, joy, and all about experiments and seeing what happens. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up, and I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.